Torres here. Um, so one of my students recently sent me a video by Ken Hackathorn, where he basically was saying that you don't need a red dot site. And he made some statements on the video that I disagree with. Um, Now, in the beginning, Ken made a note saying that when he said that you don't need a red dot site, that I believe he called them nipple heads. What a great term. I'd never heard of that one before. I've called people propeller heads, but nipple heads? Anyway, Ken said that these guys came out of the woodwork and were, accusing him of being, out of touch and all sorts of things. Unfortunately, that is kind of part and parcel of our day and age where people cannot disagree without trying to somehow denigrate the other party. That's not what this rebuttal is going to be about. I respect Mr. Hackathorn completely. He's been around forever. Contemporary of gentlemen like Farnham, Taylor, and others. And, so please, Mr. Hackathorn, don't believe that I'm in any way disrespecting you. I'd be more than honored to show you what we have discovered in terms of the red dot systems at any time. But I think you've made a few misunderstandings about what this is all about. Okay. Now, Ken seems to be in the video dismissing anything other than an iron-sighted 1911 carried in a leather summer special on the strong side. That may have been state of the art at one time, but it's not anymore today. Not that will still not suffice in a dark parking lot against a mugger with a switchblade. But there's a lot easier ways to do that now and a lot better ways. Moreover, the threats that we face today and what is 2022, this crazy America that we find ourselves living in, and God knows what's going to be coming in the future. The threats today are a little different than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. Today, you still have to worry about the common criminal, but just as easily, your adversary may be a political or religious extremist that's bent on killing everybody in the room. And he shows up to the party wearing body armor, a bomb vest, carrying an AR-15, and he may not be impressed with the 1950s, 1960s weapon that you bring to the party. Sure, you can still make do. But there are easier ways to take care of that problem today. He makes a statement that, and I'm referring to some notes that I took while I was watching the video, that gunfights only happen inside of 10 yards, and assumes that your shots are going to be upper chest, center of mass. That's what was taught back in the 1980s and 1990s. I remember I attended Gunsight in 1990. Jeff Cooper was there, became a very good friend of mine. The main guy in the class, I believe his name was Mike Weidlich. I don't know if Mike is still around. But that was a thing, right? Hammers, controlled pairs, and so on. But again, guys, 2023, 2022, okay? Those criminals are still out there. But you know what? They're bigger, because they're using testosterone, they're using, Dianabol and all kinds of stuff today to make themselves bigger and stronger. You look at the common man back in the 1950s and the 1960s, he didn't look anything like people look today, especially criminals. These guys are big, okay? They're big, they've been lifting weights. The culture is different, okay? We can argue why that is all day long. The fact remains is that I think people are bigger, stronger today, more resilient than they were in the past. All right. Moreover, you have the political and religious extremists that we hear about all the time. You can live your life in condition orange if you like, never go to stupid places with stupid people and all that other stuff that we hear about. But you know what? I will bet that all the victims of the active shooters thought like that. I'm paying attention. I'm a good person. I don't go to bad places. It doesn't matter. These types of people, they go to the places that you go to. They're not going to go to the biker bar at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night to get in a gunfight with a bunch of Hell's Angels. They're going to go to a church. They're going to go to a mall. They're going to go to a school. They're going to go to a place where good people congregate. Probably the good people that obey that sign that says no 1911s. Okay? And that's where it's going to happen. All right? Now, there you are, and you brought your inside of 10 yards, one adversary, maybe two, 5-shot J-frame, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is. That may have done well against the common criminal in the parking lot, but against the religious, devoted extremist who's wearing body armor, very common, okay? Do your research. Who's possibly wearing a bomb vest. The FBI themselves, whether you believe that agency or not, they put out a report about the active shooter, the typical active shooter. A high percentage of them, I forget what the actual number is, but a very high percentage of them have some sort of an improvised explosive device with them. There you go with your 2-shot center of mass, and boom, out go the lights, right? Okay. So more often than not today, you may need to take a headshot. You may need to take a very precise shot past a non-involved party up close. We want to play the odds? Great. The odds of the 1980s are not the odds of 2022. I'm sorry, they're not. Okay? Wishful thinking is not going to change the weather, and it's not going to change the dynamics of conflict that we face today. All right. Now, here's an interesting thing, though. Okay? If we take the premise that all gunfights are going to take place inside of 10 yards, and we're going to take the premise that you don't need something like this, okay, does that same person really need a $3,000 Wilson 1911? I don't know, but maybe Bill Wilson might have some objections to that point of view. Moving on. All right. Now, the other thing that he mentioned, okay, everything has advantages and disadvantages. That's true. I can't argue that point, okay? There are advantages to having something like this. All right, this is a CZ SP01 with a Holosun red dot on it. Super accurate weapon. It's about the same weight as a 1911. The things you can do with this are amazing. Can I shoot somebody in the face from here to the wall, 5 feet away, 10 feet away? Absolutely. This isn't going to slow me down at all. But if I need to take that hyper-precise shot at the same distance, or at farther distance, or maybe all I see is the toe of a boot protruding from around cover when I'm searching my house for a home invader, or maybe I need to take a hyper-long shot on a guy in a mall that is shooting people. You know what? It'll be a lot easier to do it with something like this than with something that the common man might benefit more from, okay? It all depends on what you want to be. Do you want to be the average guy, or do you want to be an overachiever? My world, my training, my business revolves around reaching out to the overachiever, all right? If you're not an overachiever, you know what? Maybe Ken is right. Maybe you don't need anything more than a J-frame revolver. But then don't come crying to me when you are unprepared for Churchill's tap, and circumstances find you unwilling, unprepared, for what could have been your finest hour. That's my position. Now, he mentions that these pistols with these red dot weapons that have been adopted by law enforcement, that law enforcement has had all sorts of problems. Well, that's interesting. You cannot rewrite history. As much as you try, as much as the communists try, for example, to rewrite history, history is what it is. We began doing this back in 2009 when everybody thought it was stupid, when everybody thought it was a dumb idea. You're going to put a $500 optic on a $300 pistol. Why on earth would you want to do that? And so on and so forth. Okay. We did it, and we taught the very first red dot course ever taught on planet Earth in 2010. So we know a thing or two about this, and we were doing this while most people in the industry, I suspect Mr. Heckathorn included, thought it was a dumb idea. And everybody was fixated on what kind of front sights they needed to put on their 1911s, and what elbow position was important on a weaver stance, and all that sort of thing. So we know a thing or two about red dots. We've been teaching this for years, teaching a lot of law enforcement groups, a lot of law enforcement people. So have a number of my associates that are not part of my company, but nonetheless, they are my associates. And you know what? Quite to the contrary, what we're finding is that the majority of law enforcement agencies that are adopting this, and I said the majority, there are some that are dabbling, and they'll buy one for their instructor and so on. But what I'm saying is the agencies that have adopted this wholesale for their personnel have found nothing but benefits for it. Their people are more accurate. Their people are more confident. They tend to be more tactically minded and less fear-minded because of that newfound confidence in their accuracy ability. And thus, less rounds are missed, and liability is averted considerably. That has been our findings in the past 10 years that we've been teaching law enforcement groups. So I don't know. I think if police agencies have had issues, it's probably from their adoption of the Glock Moss system, which I think is substandard, but I've written and talked about that extensively, and we don't need to beat that dead horse. Now, let's see here. He mentions about the need to shoot at 10 yards. Well, a pistol that's equipped with a red dot is certainly not going to slow you down at any distance. We show that in class all the time. But it does give you capabilities that an iron-sighted pistol does not, especially as you get older. Now, you mentioned about training and so on. Look, if you have older eyes, you're in your 50s, and you're having to do this and to move your, because you just can't see that front sight. That was the impetus of us getting involved with the red dot concept in the beginning. But if you have eyes like that cannot focus at that short distance and then keep that visual shift going, you know what? You can practice. I can give you 1,000,000 rounds, and you can go out to the range and you can shoot every day, all day, 12 hours a day. And you know what? When you're done with that 1,000,000 rounds, you think that your eyes are going to have become any better at picking up that front sight? I don't think so. There's only one thing that is going to make it easier for you to pick up that index point, and that is changing your equipment to match what your eyes are capable of doing. Period. End of story. So it's not an issue of practice. It's an issue of technology creating a situation to bypass what nature is doing to your eyes. Okay? Now, he mentions learning to use it. He says that if you have someone that has been picking up their front sight for years, let's say they fired 100,000 rounds using their front sight, that if they're going to use something like this, that they need to shoot 100,001 rounds. Well, that is simply not true. And I'll tell you why. Because if you have practiced picking up this, and it's not just the front sight, it's the front sight in coincidence with the rear sight superimposed on the target downrange. Okay? And if you have a properly set up pistol, meaning that the red dot is zeroed at exactly the same point out in space, in other words, out there toward the target, as the iron sights, when you look at the iron sights, where's that red dot going to be? It's going to be centered right on the very top of the front sight. Not like he says somewhere out here. It's going to be here. So if you look at the sights, you're also going to see the dot. And because the dot is brighter than the sights, the brain will pick up that dot, and there will be a visual shift that takes place. That is training, but it happens very, very quickly because of the nature of the system here, okay? And, co-witness means, and I don't know if I can do that on camera. I don't think I can, but guys, you've seen the pictures I put online. You have this kind of thing here, okay? So if this is my front sight, this is my rear sight, okay? From this perspective, this is the front sight. From shooter's perspective, the dot's going to be right here. So if you look for that dot, what are you also going to see? Let me tell you, you're also going to see the red dot. Okay, whether you want to or not, it's going to be there. Okay, so there is no difference in training. Now the issue is, he says, well, yeah, because once the first shot is fired, you lose the dot. Well, the same thing happens with your front sight. What happens? Well, you reacquire it after recoil, right? The same thing with this, okay? It's not a big deal. It's not as big a deal as some people want to make it out to be. Come out to one of my classes and I'll show you, okay? All right, what else here? Okay, the learning curve, we already addressed that. We already addressed the issue of the police departments. Look, I'll tell you something. He's right about this is not something that everybody needs. You're right. Not everybody needs a Porsche Cayenne. Not everybody needs a Rolex watch. Not everybody needs a 5,000 square foot house in the country. Not everybody needs a PhD. Not everybody needs a supermodel wife. Not everybody needs $1 million in the bank. You don't need that. You can make do with a J-frame revolver, a used Ford Pinto, Social Security, an apartment in the ghetto. You can make do with all. That's all you need. You can eat at Golden Corral every day instead of Mastro's. Do you want to revolve your life around need? Or do you want to revolve your life around want? What do you want for yourself? What do you want for yourself when you're walking out to your Porsche Cayenne after dinner with your supermodel wife at Mastro's, and you see the two hoodlums walking toward you? You want to think, oh my God, this is terrible. I hope that I'm able to survive this event. Or do you want to go, you gotta be kidding me. I thought they would send more. This is going to be fun. Honey, plug your ears. I'll be right with you. It really is simple as that. What do you want for yourself? You want to be an overachiever? You want to be the guy that when Churchill taps you on the shoulder for what's going to be your finest hour, you're going to smile and you're going to go, oh, finally, it's here. That's what I want. What do you want? If you want that, you know what? This might be for you. My name is Gabriel Suarez from Suarez Tactics, and I approve this message. Peace out.